Julio O'Sullivan never liked to make a fuss. If you asked the people in his Queens neighborhood, they'd tell you he was a quiet man with kind eyes, a steady hand, and a heart that never said no to someone in need. He ran a humble dress shop, married for nearly 30 years, raised 2 kids, nothing flashy. But in late 2023, at the age of 58, Julio made headlines. Not because of what he did, but because of what doctors found inside him, a razor blade buried in his thigh. And it had been there for 3 decades. Let's rewind. Julio was born in 1965 in Ballymena, a sleepy village nestled in the green hills of Northern Ireland. Life was simple. Muddy football matches, helping his dad at the hardware store, listening to his granny's stories by the fireplace. Money was tight, but the rhythm of small-town life had its comforts. But by the 1990s, Northern Ireland was still picking up the pieces from years of political conflict. Julio, at 25, decided it was time to chase something bigger. He boarded a plane to New York City, with nothing but a suitcase and a stomach full of nerves. Like many immigrants, those early years were a grind. Julio worked construction during the day and washed dishes at night. It was in a tiny Queens diner that he met Flora, a second-generation Italian-American with a fierce attitude and a soft spot for shy men with accents. They married in 1995 at St. Patrick's Cathedral. No big wedding, just love and loyalty. In 1996, they scraped together their savings and opened Julio's dress shop. No one expected much, just a tiny storefront offering affordable clothes and alterations. But Julio poured his soul into it. He remembered names, sizes, tastes. He tailored with precision and gave discounts without being asked. By the 2010s, the shop was a neighborhood staple. Julio had found his American dream, not in money, but in meaning. His routine was clockwork. 6:30 a.m., wake to the smell of Flora's strong coffee. 7:15, walk to the shop, nodding to every neighbor. 8 o'clock, open up, adjust the front window display. 10 o'clock, first customers, usually regulars. 1 o'clock, lunch with Flora at the little table in back. 5:30, close up, maybe a pint at O'Malley's pub. Quiet joy, that's what he'd built. Then came November 2023. It started with a twinge, a dull ache in his left thigh. Nothing alarming. Julio was Irish. Complaining wasn't in his nature. But the pain got worse, sharp enough to make him limp. That's when Flora put her foot down. "Julio Michael O'Sullivan, you're going to Dr. Luther if I have to drag you myself." So he went. Dr. Luther had seen Julio before, standard stuff. But this visit felt different. Julio described the pain as deep, almost foreign. The doctor ordered scans just to be safe. What showed up on the screen made the entire room go silent. A razor blade, old, embedded in the flesh of Julio's left thigh, clean, straight-edged, the kind barbers used in the 60s and 70s. Dr. Luther shook his head. "Julio, this thing's been here for decades. Your body walled it off, literally sealed it inside to protect you. That's why you never got an infection." Julio stared at the image. It looked surreal. How could a blade end up in his leg without him remembering? That night, Julio and Flora sat at the kitchen table, a cup of tea between them, whiskey splashed in for good measure. "Flora, remember when I worked at that barber shop, back in '92? She blinked. "You mean with old Mr. Giannotti?" "Yeah, I was learning how to sharpen razors. There was this one day, I cut my leg. Just a nick, I thought. It bled a bit, but I didn't think much of it. Then it clicked. The blade must have snapped. A fragment lodged itself inside. He was young, working double shifts. The wound closed. He forgot it ever happened. 30 years later, it finally made its presence known. Surgery was scheduled the following week. Nothing too invasive. The encapsulation actually made it easier to remove. As Julio lay on the gurney, he looked at the surgeon and chuckled. It's like saying goodbye to an old friend, a very unwanted one. The fragment measured 1.5 inches. Pathology confirmed. It had been there over 30 years, a ghost from a lifelong past. Recovery was quick. Julio was back at the shop within a few weeks, limping a little less each day. But something inside him had shifted. He had always been the kind of man to keep going, even through pain. But this? It was a reminder that our pasts never truly leave us. Sometimes they hide beneath the surface, until the body or the soul can't hold them anymore. I keep thinking, he told Flora one morning, how many people are walking around with their own razor blades, not just in the body, but in the heart. Buried hurts, unspoken memories, forgotten wounds. The blade had become something more than just a medical mystery. It was a metaphor for survival, for resilience, for the quiet burdens we carry without complaint. Julio O'Sullivan walked around for 30 years with a literal blade inside him, and never knew it. Not because he was oblivious, but because life demanded that he keep going. And maybe that's the story for all of us. We carry things, we survive things, until one day we uncover the truth and finally let it go. If you found Julio's story moving, share it with someone who's quietly strong. You never know what blade they've been carrying,